Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game preview ahead of our Premier League fixture against Aston Villa tomorrow at Goodison Park. A game that, listen, on paper we should be confident about. We should be going in happy, all smiles, saying right, okay, 3 points here, definite. But let's be honest, it's Everton Football Club, and judging by the last three performances and also judging by the fact that Aston Villa really need to win this game and they're in a real relegation fight, I don't think a lot of us are confident. Listen, this is going to be a game that's going to demand urgency, it's going to demand fight, it's going to demand passion, it's going to demand players playing for their pride. And if the last couple of games are anything to go by, Everton players haven't proved that they can do that, whereas Aston Villa, on the other hand, have obviously, since they restarted the Premier League, won that game against Crystal Palace last week, which is a massive result for them. Crystal Palace, a very good side as well. Draws against Sheffield United, Newcastle. Obviously, they've lost against your Chelsea's, Wolves, United, and Liverpool's, but they're expected. But in terms of teams that are, mid-table sides or even sides pushing for European places such as Sheffield United and you could argue Crystal Palace at one point, they're picking up results against, and it's really not a great time to be playing a side like Aston Villa, certainly considering the fact that they've got a lot of fight in their team, and they've also got a little bit of quality as well, certainly in that midfield. We speak pretty much every single week about how our midfield lets us down and games are won and lost in the midfield, and we often lose it in the midfield. Aston Villa have got some good players, John McGinn, Jack Grealish, some really good midfield players. I'm joined by Mike today to discuss the game. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk about it. Firstly, I haven't been on the channel for quite some time. Obviously we speak regularly over text and what have you, but how are you doing, mate? How's things?
Yeah, mate, good. Obviously, we do the watch-alongs and that, and we've got some new merch and everything, so channel's flying. I had some bad news. Obviously, I was made redundant, so I've been trying to deal with that. But apart from that, look, you think Everton are going to cheer you up, and they just don't bother turning up. So, yeah, mate, all good.
That's it. And again, like I said, it's been a weird sort of time. It's been a weird restart to the Premier League. Obviously, we come off the back of the Premier League suspension, and we picked up 7 points out of a possible 9 in the first 3 games, and that was sort of a fantastic achievement. A draw against Liverpool, which ultimately on another day could have been a win. Won against Norwich, which was expected, but still a good result away from home against the team again fighting against relegation. Beat Leicester, which was a fantastic result, and then I always felt from that sort of second half in the Leicester game, and then the entirety of the Tottenham game, the Southampton game, and then the Wolves game, which was just the pinnacle of it, we sort of fell off a little bit. We've looked tired, we've looked lackadaisical. The second half of the Leicester game, like I said, we hung on, but you could put that down to tired legs or players being a little bit like I said, a little bit fatigued. But again, the Spurs game, we just simply didn't turn up, and that was probably one of the most disappointing games for me, because we were playing against the Spurs side that we could have won, we could have beaten them on another day. They weren't great, they didn't come with much, didn't attack us an awful lot. They scored one scruffy goal and then didn't really break forward, but we didn't challenge them, we didn't press onto them. The Southampton game, again, we made Southampton look like Barcelona for the first 45 minutes, snatched the goal out of absolute nothing through a bit of magic and a bit of quality from 2 of our better players, and then again the second half was just phased out a little bit. They lost a little bit of their pace and we didn't do much. And then the game against Wolves, we just got our arses handed to us, which I think a lot of us expected, even though we didn't want to say it. I think a lot of us expected it. So we come up against Aston Villa then, 19th in the Premier League, still able to finish out of that relegation zone and guarantee themselves a place in the Premier League next season, but it's looking more and more unlikely as the weeks go on. Like I said, 4 points away from safety now with 3 games to go. Obviously playing Everton tomorrow. I don't know who the remaining games are. I think they've got a tough run in. But if they don't win tomorrow against Everton, they'll obviously have to rely on Watford to not drop points. Watford and West Ham, I believe it is, to not win their games. Otherwise, they will be relegated. So this is a must win for Aston Villa. But I also think it's a must win for Everton Football Club. Not because we've got anything riding on it. Not because, we can possibly finish in a European position. We're not going to finish in a European position, let's be honest. Not because, we're fighting relegation. There's in terms of points, in terms of anything riding on it, there's nothing really. But we have to play for pride, and these players have to prove to the fans that they deserve a space in this team next season. Carlo Ancelotti come out, and it's the title of this live stream, and he said, when there is no fight, that is not part of the DNA. And Carlo Ancelotti come out in his pre-game press conference to the game today, and he literally come out and said he was surprised by the lack of fight, he was surprised by the lack of effort. And he said he sat down, he spoke to the players, he told them that that's not acceptable, and then he said, so we should see a change of attitude and we should see a change of effort in the remaining games. Now, for me, that is a fantastic comment by Carlo Ancelotti, because that's saying to us as fans, if you don't see a change in effort, if you don't see a change in agency, if you don't see the players fighting and wanting to have a go, then it's on them, because I've told them, and Carlo Ancelotti can't go on the pitch ultimately and can't play for them, he can't force them to go into challenges, he can't stop them from backing out of one-on-ones, so it's down to the players now, and this is a game where we're absolutely going to need to fight. Aston Villa are going to come to Goodison Park, but like I said, they haven't had a fantastic season, probably still the underdog in the game, but they're going to fight. And if any of the last 3 games are to go by, Everton don't turn up when teams come at us, and Everton don't turn up when teams want it more. We have to want it as much as Aston Villa, and we have to want it more than Aston Villa. If we do want it more than them, if we do show up, if we do show desire, if we show energy, if we show urgency, I think we win the game tomorrow. If we don't, I can't see a positive result, because I just think they're in much need of the 3 points, and if we're not interested, if we don't look interested in the game, then I can see us struggling. How would you feel about the game then? Obviously, like I said, it hasn't come at a great time for us to be playing in Aston Villa, certainly off the back of the last 3 performances and their big win against Crystal Palace a couple of days ago. How are you feeling? Are you feeling confident going into it? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, well, when I did my match preview yesterday, and one of the things that I said is, how can an Everton side, basically a team that knows how the community supports them, how they support the community, and how everyone backs everyone essentially who wears a blue shirt, how can those 11 players, or say 16 after the subs, pretty much just not be asked to turn up? And this is my concern going up against Villa. Villa are going to go to Everton, they're going to be combative, they're going to be tight at the back, they're going to play similar to what Norwich did against us, in my opinion, and we struggled to break Norwich down. Yes, it was a tough game and we won 1-0, but we will struggle against breaking down this Villa side. Villa are going to have much more passion, much more to play for, much more desire. The manager is a Villa fan himself, and Everton are going up against a team that, yes, on paper they're not as good as we are, but they've got more desire for the shirt that they're wearing than our players have, and that's what evens this game out. If there was 40,000 Everton fans in there, I actually think it'd be even worse, because the atmosphere at Everton at times can be toxic if we don't think the players are turning up. And if they don't turn up for this game, especially after following what Carlo Ancelotti has said in his press conference, then I think a lot of them we already know are a disgrace to the football team. But I think Villa go there tomorrow fairly confident. They've not played bad since the restart. They've got results against Palace. They got a draw against Sheffield United. They drew against Newcastle. Both of those games now look in hindsight that if they'd have won them, they might well be staying up. So they go there tomorrow knowing they have to get 3 points. They have to turn up and perform essentially as well as they possibly can. And look, they're going to boss us in midfield, and we have to accept that early. Jack Grealish, McGinn, whoever starts in the middle, whether it be, Marvellous, Makamba, whoever starts in that midfield, in the centre too, they're probably going to have a better game than our two. We need to accept that, and we need to work out a way of beating them. Yeah. So it's going to be
I agree, spot on, and you said something there that I think is absolutely spot on. Aston Villa are going to come to Goodison Park very, very confident tomorrow, very confident. This is probably the perfect time to play Everton from an Aston Villa's point of view. They know that if they bring a little bit of fight, if they've got an edge to them, if they've got something about them where they want it a little bit more, they've got the passion, they've got the energy, they know they desperately need to stay up, they'll have watched our last 3 games and gone, right, okay, we can, as long as we get an opportunity in the game, all as we have to do really is show that we want it more than these, and we'll control the game. And then it's down to them. And listen, they don't score a lot of goals, and they haven't scored a lot of goals notoriously this season. However, they proven a couple of days ago against Crystal Palace that when it comes to it, they can score goals, they can win games. Like you said, they've got some really, really good players in that midfield. Jack Grealish, one of the better attacking midfielders in the Premier League, one of the most creative players in the Premier League. I think he's the most foul player this season. Their highest goal scorer, highest assister. They've got a lot of players in there that have got not only quality, but have got fight and passion for the football club, and that's one thing that Everton players don't seem to have at the moment, is a want to play for this football club. And I tweeted about a comment that Jamie Carragher made halfway through the game against Wolves a couple of days ago, and he said a lot of these players seem like they're on the beach and they're just looking forward to next season. And I tweeted out saying, well, if these players are looking forward to next season, they shouldn't be looking forward to next season in an Everton shirt, because there should be no guarantees that these players are playing in an Everton shirt next season. There's a handful of them. Mason Holgate, your Luca Deans, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin. You know, there's probably 5 or 6 players that you can go, right, okay, if an offer come in, I wouldn't listen to it, I wouldn't entertain it. But the rest of them, they're fighting for their future at the football club. You know, Aston Villa and their players are fighting for the future in the Premier League, but near enough every Everton player is fighting for their future at this football club. And if they don't turn up tomorrow and we get embarrassed again, I'm not willing to sit here and accept that, oh, well, we've got nothing to play for, and, you know, Aston Villa are a big club, so they deserve to be in the Premier League. We need to stamp our authority tomorrow. We need to go out there and go, listen, it's sad if you get relegated and we've not got much to play for, but we're going to absolutely steam blast you off the park. We're going to show our quality. We're going to come. We're going to want it as much as you. We're going to want it more than you. We're going to beat you, and then we're going to shake your hand and say good luck for next season, wherever you may be, because it's imperative that we end this season positively. You know, we spoke, like I said, after the first 3 games of the restart of the Premier League, we spoke about how we were in decent form. You know, we could have beaten Liverpool, 2 wins against Norwich and Tottenham, and then it's just massively tailed off. And I think part of that massively tailing off is because of that Tottenham defeat, and because the players now know, right, okay, there's probably not that European spot to play for, so let's just turn up and think, right, we're better than the other team, so we'll beat them. That's not the case. If we just turn up tomorrow thinking, right, we don't really need to work hard because we're better on paper than them, or we've got more quality, so we'll beat them either way, it's not going to work, because we're going to get outrun in the midfield. And I've said it multiple times, that Southampton game was an utter embarrassment. The Tottenham game was bad because Tottenham were bad and we could have beat them. The Wolves game was bad, but again, I'm not willing to accept it, because I'm never willing to accept that type of performance. But Wolves are a good side. Wolves are a very, very good side with a lot of quality. The Southampton game, in that first half, we made Southampton look like Barcelona. They were hitting it past us left, right and centre. The midfield wasn't moving. We just didn't look interested whatsoever. And if we come up against the Villa side tomorrow and we don't look interested, we could be in danger of being embarrassed here. Aston Villa beat us earlier on in the season 2-0 at Villa Park. It was the famous game where Sky Sports touted it as an opportunity for Everton to go top of the league for the first time in however many years. Yep. And we turned up and we got our asses handed to us. And again, in that game, we looked tired. There was fitness issues. I remember saying it afterwards. This team looks tired. It doesn't look fit. It doesn't look ready to start the Premier League season, because it was only a couple of weeks into the Premier League season. Villa looked on it. They looked ready. They looked like they wanted to win. They looked urgent, which is, again, what they're going to do tomorrow. They're going to come and they're going to adopt that, and they need to adopt it even more in this situation, because, again, like I said, if they're to survive in the Premier League, they really, really need to win tomorrow, because if they don't win tomorrow, okay, they're not mathematically down, but it's probably looking like they're going to be relegated. So they're going to come with a lot of energy. Listen, I've got my predicted starting 11 on the left-hand side of me there. We'll go through it, and then I'll ask Mike about it, and, you know, Mike will go through his starting 11 as well. So I spoke after the game against Wolves, and I said how I'm not really willing to see the players like Gylfi Sigurdsson. I even mentioned Jordan Pickford in there, who have kept in the starting 11 purely because I'm used to keeping him there. And various other players that just haven't showed that they care, just haven't showed that they're asked, haven't showed that they want it this season. So going into the predicted starting 11, then I have got Jordan Pickford in goal. Like I said, at the end of the game against Wolves, I said drop him and Martin Stecklenberg should come in, and this is probably going to seem a little bit contradictory. Like I said, I didn't even focus on the goalkeeper position because I don't change it usually, but it is going to be Martin Stecklenburg. It is going to be Jordan Pickford. Sorry, I've tried to put out a team that I think Carlo Ancelotti would go with, rather than a side that I'd go with. Because if it was me, I'd probably just play a lot of the younger players from the under-23s, players with the less experience. Because let's be honest, they cannot do any worse than this team. But I've tried to go for a side that I think Carlo Ancelotti is more likely to go with, mixed in with a side that I would like to see as well. So I've gone for Jordan Pickford in goal. Like I said, shocker against Wolves, absolute shocker. Not only did he make a couple of mistakes, he made one really good save, but he made a couple of mistakes, and then his attitude for me is just absolutely dreadful. I've gone for a back four of Luca Dean at left back, Michael Keane and Mason Holgate at centre back, and Seamus Coleman at right back. Carlo Ancelotti did say today that Yerry Mina is still out injured. However, Mason Holgate and Andre Gomez return to fitness. So Mason Holgate partnered with Michael Keane in the centre of the defence there. I was humming and hawing around, putting Jared Branthwaite in there, giving him another opportunity, obviously come off the bench against Wolves. Yes, he made the mistake and give a foul away and ultimately didn't sack his man for the third goal, but realistically, after that point, he didn't do too badly. He kept his position and well. He kept his, he marked well. He threw in a couple of good tackles as well. But I've gone for Mason Holgate and Michael Keane because I think that's the most likely partnership that Carlo Ancelotti will go with, certainly considering we desperately need to win this game. I've gone for Luca Dean at left back. Again, thought he done okay against Wolves, obviously breaking forward a lot of times. Defensively, he done okay. Give away the penalty, which was really disappointing. But other than that situation, other than giving away the penalty, I thought he was okay in the game. To be honest with you, one of our better players. Right back then, I've gone with Seamus Coleman. Listen, Seamus needs to step up for me. He come out after the Wolves game and he said about how the performance was disgraceful and how some players in that side really don't want to be there and they're not fighting and they're not showing effort. Seamus has to lead by example now for me. He has to step up tomorrow. And he has to show those players that he believes aren't giving 110% what they need to do for this football club and how they need to play. He needs to lead by example. Again, he hasn't had a poor game, I don't think, specifically since the restart of the Premier League. He's done okay. He hasn't done an awful lot, but he's done okay. But I think he needs to lead by example tomorrow. He needs to step up and he needs to really, really push this team. Mike, then what do you think of that back four and goalkeeper? Again, I probably will put Virginia or Stecklenberg in there, but I don't think Carlo Ancelotti will. And if you want to give us yours, fire away.
Yeah. So I'll stick with the same back four that you do, but I do change the keeper. I do drop Jordan Pickford just out of principle. I don't play Stecklenberg because I think he's off. So I actually give Virginia his first Premier League start. Apparently he's a highly rated goalkeeper, so at some point he's going to have to play. We're not going to get relegated. We're not going to get into Europe. Just, if you're going to play him, give him the opportunity. He's sat on the bench twice now. I actually wouldn't even put Pickford in the squad because I think he needs to learn a lesson. The particular moment that really got to me with Pickford, it pissed me off, was where he's got the ball on the line and he's just smiling with his and I just sit there and think, I've seen it against Newcastle, I've seen it against Liverpool, I've seen it against Burnley. Now I've seen it in a game we've been basically twatted all over the park. He's just a disgrace. I'd happily never see him in a blue shirt again. So I'll go with exactly the same back four as you do, and I'll go with Virginia in goal.
Yeah. You know what? Listen, I'd be quite happy to see Jordan Pickford not put an Everton shirt on again, at least this season. I don't think Carlo Ancelotti will do that, but I'm with you, Mike. I'd even put Stecklenberg in, even out of even more principle that he's going at the end of the season and he's about 412, but out of the principle that Jordan Pickford shouldn't be playing based off that reaction and based off that performance against Wolves the other day. I don't think it'll happen because I think Carlo Ancelotti wants to keep a little bit of let's say togetherness in the dressing room, and I'm not saying that he won't drop Jordan Pickford if need be, but I think he probably just thinks it's not worth the hassle at the moment, so keep him in there. But I agree. Listen, if João Virginia starts the game tomorrow against Aston Villa, I'd be happy because I think Jordan Pickford needs to be taught a lesson. I also think he needs to be taught a lesson in the England setup as well. He needs to be taken out of that quickly, because not only is he not good enough to be there, not that I'm asked about England, but not only is he not good enough to be there, his head is absolutely massive off the basis that he still believes because he's England's number one, he's God's green gift to the earth. Going into the midfield then, two centre midfielders. I've gone for Andre Gomez and Benny Beningame. I don't want to see Tom Davis and Gylfi Sigurdsson again this season in the midfield for Everton. Certainly not starting games for Everton. Coming on as impact substitutions, whatever. I think when Sigurdsson's had to come on as an impact substitution, he's done okay. He hasn't done great. He's not created anything, but he's ran around a little bit and he's put a couple of good passes together, but I don't want to see either of them starting Premier League football for games for Everton ever again. They're not good enough. They're really, really not good enough. There's no creativity. There's no defensive cover. There's no ability on the ball. There's nothing. There's literally absolutely nothing with that midfield. And you could argue that Andre Gomez over the last couple of weeks is the same. You could argue that there's nothing when he starts Premier League football matches either, but I just think that next to somebody a little bit more energetic, I think you'll get more out of Andre Gomez than you would out of Tom Davis and Gylfi Sigurdsson. Again, I said it the other day. I challenge any Evertonian or any football fan to tell me what Gylfi Sigurdsson and Tom Davies do, because they don't provide any defensive cover. They don't create anything going forward. Tom Davies' passing range is utterly embarrassing. He couldn't pass a 5-yard ball the other day. Gylfi Sigurdsson standing on the pitch, pointing at other players and trying to, avoid the ball coming to him. If you don't want to be on the pitch, fuck off. Don't be on the pitch. Say to Carlo Ancelotti, I don't want to play. Same with Tom Davies. I think with Tom it's a little bit different, because I think Gylfi Sigurdsson's not arsed. I think Tom Davies is not good enough. But I don't want to see either of them starting Premier League games for Everton. Certainly not. Not again really, because they're not good enough. So I've gone with Andre Gomes and Benny Beningame. Like I said, Andre Gomes hasn't had the best restart of the Premier League. Obviously, he has come back out of quite a bad injury, which for me, I felt he was rushed back into the team in that game against Arsenal just before the break. I think he was rushed back into there because we desperately needed him. But again, best of a bad bunch at the moment. He is fit. Carlo Ancelotti has confirmed that Andre Gomes is fit for this game. But like I said, there's not many other options, is there? And it's almost guaranteed that he's going to play he's going to play a 4-4-2, and I think out of the three midfielders, I'd rather Andre Gomes be in there than the other two. I've just noticed, I don't know whether that's you or John, but the Blue Boys Network has donated £5 to this team.
That was me, yeah.
Thank you very much, mate. Really, really do appreciate it. I will get into the live comments. Honestly, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate the support. I really do. Benny Beningame next to him then, and then we'll ask Mike's thoughts. Obviously, give Mike some love in the chat for throwing the £5 donation in there. Really appreciate it. Benny Beningame, yeah, again, I don't want to see any of the others in there because they're not good enough. Benny Beningame mightn't be the answer. I'm not saying he is the answer. I'm not saying he's good enough. But he cannot be any worse than the others. He cannot be any worse. And what have we got to lose? Like Mike said before, what have we got to lose? Throw Benny Beningame in. If he's shit, he's shit. Whatever. Tom Davies isn't good enough. Gylfi Sigurdsson isn't good enough. Fabian Delph's basically sitting on holiday, getting paid £100,000 a week. Jean-Philippe Gbamin's injured. We need another centre midfielder. Give Benny Beningame his opportunity, please, because I honestly think he can't do any worse than the midfielders that we've seen so far since the restart. And again, he is a little bit more energetic than the midfielders that we've got. He hasn't got an awful lot of pace. He hasn't got an awful lot of energy, but he's got more energy than the others. He'll throw a tackle in. He's not afraid. And all it takes is Benny Beningame to throw one tough tackle into an Aston Villa player, and Andre Gomes might look and go, fucking hell, I can actually tackle as well, I can do that. And Richarlison might go, fucking hell, I'm going to come back and I'm going to throw a tackle in as well, I'm going to get involved. And that, that might sort of spike that sort of feeling in the team and push the side on, and I think that would be really, really important. So I'm going to do me front four as a separate. So in terms of your midfield two, Mike, who have you gone for and what do you think of mine?
So I went with Gordon and Andrew Eden.
Oh, okay. Gordon in the centre mid, okay.
Yeah, no. So there is a reason for that. Is I think we're going to get bypassed in midfield anyway.
Yeah. Well,
so yeah. I don't think it matters who we play. We could play Beningame, we can play Andrew Eden, we could play Gomes. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, if we play Gomes has been as bad, if not worse, in my opinion, than Gylfi Sigurdsson.
I actually agree. I'm not disagreeing.
And actually. If I was a man that could pick any of the players that have played for Everton in the last sort of 6 months, I'd actually probably play Morgan Schneidlin, which is absolutely mind-blowing for me to say, bearing in mind I almost had a party when I found out he was leaving. But with me, I'll go with Gordon because he has got pace, he's got energy, he's got the ability to turn, and that's what I want to see. I do not want our midfield going toe to toe with Jack Grealish because it's a waste of time. He'll play around us. What I want is for him to be able to turn and get away from him. Yeah. Now, none of the midfielders that we've got have got the pace to do that, apart from Gordon. Yeah. Or if you throw a Bernard or any Iwobi into centre mid, and I can't see Bernard or Iwobi doing that. No. Gordon has played in a centre midfielder role before. He's played in a number 10 role before for the under-23s as well. So I throw Gordon into centre mid because he did against Wolves. When we play 3-5-2, Gordon came into the middle of the park. Yeah. So Gordon for me in the centre, and I go with Andrew Eden. And the only reason I go with Andrew Eden is I want to see Benny Beningame, whatever his name is, and Andrew Eden alternate. I want to see one play one game, one play the other, and it was simply I went with Andrew Eden for this game because he has got pace, he has got the ability to turn, and I don't know if you watched the practice match that they did before the
it
restart of the season, but Andrew Eden looks a hell of a player. He looks like a player that is calm, collected, will take that pass and go on the turn. Benny Bigimini, good player, put his foot in. We saw it when he played against Chelsea. He is a good, solid centre midfielder who needs an opportunity. But Villa at home shouldn't be that game. No. That should be the game away at Sheffield United, in my opinion. Okay. Because we will need that player in the centre of the park who is just going to sit there, bust legs and pass it wide. And that's why I start Andrew Eden over Benny Bingham in this game with Gordon alongside him.
Okay, fair enough. So we're both in agreement that Tom Davies and Gylfi Sigurdsson are nowhere near the starting 11, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. I think most Evertonians will be within that agreement as well. Listen, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Dennis Adina in there. In terms of Benny Beningame, Dennis Adina, I was alternate with them. I went with Benny because he played in the Premier League before. He's got that experience. We've seen him. I wouldn't mind Anthony Gordon in the centre as well. Again, I think he's a player that's proven over the last few weeks that he can get back. He can help the defence. He can get his foot in defensively. And he's also proven that going forward. He's good as well. He's got the talent. He's got the ability. In terms of Iwobi and Bernard, like you mentioned, defensively, they just don't offer enough cover. They just don't do enough defensively. And I think that's the reason why they haven't been used there. If you're enjoying the scene, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I think we're 20 subscribers away from 2,000 now, so if you could hit that subscribe button, it'd mean a massive amount to me. Share the video as well.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
I know, so
close.
My
God, the amount of work we've put into getting you to this point.
I know, it's so close.
Oh my God, man.
I know, I can't wait. So close. So if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. If you subscribe, thank you very much. Share the stream. Let's get as many people in here as possible. Going on to the front four, then I've left these as a 4, not because I think they'll play as a 4 formation-wise, but I just really want to see them together. And that is Anthony Gordon on the left, or right, whichever. Richarlison on the alternate wing, and Moise Kean and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. Why not? Anthony Gordon, again, like you mentioned, fantastic over the last couple of weeks. Probably the only, or the brightest spark in the Everton team. Okay, Richarlison and Luca Dean have played well as well. But Anthony Gordon really been a breath of fresh air, picking the ball up from midfield, driving us forward, trying to create opportunities, winning fouls, putting himself on the floor when he needs to put himself on the floor, getting himself up, constantly working, at 110%, working his bollocks off. Got that creative output as well, which we've seen in the game against Leicester, where he put that fantastic ball across the box for Richarlison's goal. Richarlison on the other side again, I think we're lacking on wingers. Obviously, Theo Walcott returned against Wolves for his first game, played 45 minutes, put one good ball across the box, and then didn't really do fuck all else from then. Don't want to see Alex Iwobi on the wing because I don't think he's good enough. Don't think Bernard's consistent enough. So I've gone for Richarlison and Gordon on the wings, and then Moise Kean and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. I just think, listen, Moise Kean hasn't blown my skirt up since he's come into the team, and not since the restart of the Premier League either. He hasn't. He's come on and he's not done an awful lot. Granted, he hasn't had the creativity, he hasn't had the service, he hasn't had the opportunities, but I just don't think Moise Kean's a striker that's going to go out there and actively pick the ball up in the midfield and create something for himself. He's a player that feeds off creativity, feeds off players, giving him service and feeding the ball into him, and he doesn't have that in this Everton team. Having said that, we've only seen Moise Kean for 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 5 minutes here. It's tough for a player to get into the game and make any real impact when they're only coming on for that period of time, and adding on to that when the rest of the team is shite and not creative enough and not having anything going forward. So I'd just like to see Moise Kean starting from the off, just to give him these next 3 games. What's the point? We're not playing for anything. We've got nothing to play for. Dominic Calvert-Lewin struggled since the return of the Premier League. He hasn't scored. Obviously, Richarlison scored a couple. Stick him on the wing to give you that cover on the wing, and then just put Moise Kean up top with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and let's see how well he can play. What do you think?
Yeah, just want to give a little shout out to Paul Hayes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, big thanks, Paul. Really do appreciate that.
Yeah, Paul, good lad. He also donated on mine the other day as well. So we both appreciate it, bud. With me, I actually start Theo Walcott.
Okay.
Just to be honest, I need him to play into being able to sell him.
Yeah.
So the way I'm building my team at the minute is as if we're getting rid of half the team. So he goes in on right midfield. I seem to think that I stuck on the left Bernard, but again, that's that's because I'm not asked if he's here or not next season. So if he's going to play and he's going to put him in the shop window, get him in it. And then up front, I actually went with Charlison and Moise Keane, and I dropped Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And the reason I dropped him is because he's played, I think it's 7 games now, and he's looked like the Dominic Calvert-Lewin of old. Before we started scoring goals, I know he's had no service, and I know we haven't been firing balls into him, but every time he seems to take a touch, it looks like he's trying to come backwards, and that's disappointing. You know, Richarlison, for example, we were getting dicked against, was it Wolves, or was it the game before against Spurs? But either way, Dominic Calvert-Lewin had a couple of opportunities to take that touch on his chest and turn on it and get a shot off. He didn't do it. Whereas Richarlison, on the 45th minute of the Tottenham game, he took that touch on his chest, he turned, and he just glanced it wide. Yeah. It's like Richarlison is a better striker than Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but Richarlison was a winger. So Moise Keane and Richarlison start up front, and I just, you know, it is just to get with Bernard, and who I'm really not asked about the wingers, because again, I don't think they're good enough, and it's just to flog them.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I just want to reiterate before we talk about that, again, big thanks to Paul. Really, really do appreciate that donation. It means a massive, massive amount to me and Mike as well for the donation on his channel. Fair enough. Listen, Dom hasn't had a fantastic restart to the Premier League. I think the thing is with Dom is, you know, with Richarlison, he hasn't had an awful lot of opportunities, but it's very clear that when he gets those opportunities, he takes them. The goal against Southampton was absolutely unbelievable. Obviously, one ball across, fantastic ball in, by the way, by Luca Dean. Richarlison, one touch, half volley, it goes in. Whereas Dominic Calvert-Lewin, okay, he hasn't had ample amount of opportunities, and he still works hard and he still gets himself about, but he has had a couple of chances. The game against Southampton in the second half, which could have potentially won it, Tom Davies chips a good ball over and he tries to hit it on the volley rather than sort of taking it down and hitting it, or even sort of heading it back. He tries to hit it on the volley, which again, you know, you said there it's almost like Richarlison's the natural sort of striker when he played on the wing. I think Richarlison's more of a natural goal scorer, to be honest, and I think he's actually probably a little bit more naturally talented than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Not saying Dom's not talented. Dom can be one of the most talented strikers in the world with hard work, but he still needs that hard work. And I think he still needs a lot of work on the training ground. The difference is if you're winning one, if you're drawing 1-1 and you're in the 90th minute of a game and Richarlison goes 1-on-1 with the keeper, you can be quite confident that it's going in. If Dom does, you may be not as confident, and I don't know if that's a confidence thing in terms of the player themselves. I don't know if that's an ability thing. I don't know if that's something that can be worked on in the training ground. I don't know. I just think Richarlison's more of that natural threat, and he's got that natural quality, whereas Dom's just taught. A little bit like, I'm going to say Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm not saying Dominic Calvert-Lewin's as good as Cristiano Ronaldo, but what I'm saying is Cristiano Ronaldo's quality and ability, a lot of it was taught through hard work, through desire, through passion, through numerous amounts of interviews from Manchester United players have passed saying he was the first player on the training ground 2 hours before everybody, and he was the last one out 2 hours after everybody because he always wanted to improve. Whereas again, there's other players that are just born with that natural amount of talent, and I think you're spot on there, and I wouldn't oppose Dom coming out, even if it's just to say, listen, you've worked your arse off. A lot of these players haven't given a shit, so come and have a little rest, take a couple of games off. You come off the bench and you be the impact, and let's see what Moise Keane can do from the start. So there are man and Mike's predicted starting 11. Let me know your thoughts on them in the comment section down below. If you're enjoying the stream, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. We'll dive into the live comments now then, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the game before we finish up. The Blue Boys Network, Mike says subscribe and like, just a little push towards 2k, thank you very much. Whammy says hi the ho boys, I mate, hope you're doing well. Gord says best 2 Everton fan channels in my honest opinion, thank you very much, really appreciate that.
Well, I wouldn't agree, I couldn't agree anymore, to be honest. We are the best because we care about what we're doing.
There you go. Mike said it. There you go. Spot on. Shava says, hey, you just made my night. 2 of the best lads on YouTube. Thank you very much. William says, the midfield never let me down. I expect them to be shit, and they're shit every week. Well, there you go. That's maybe a way of looking at things. If you expect them to be shit, then they're shit. But I think in this game, again, we can't really afford to turn up and expect us to not put in a performance or expect us to be shit. We can sit here as fans and be pessimistic and say, judging on the last performances, I'm not expecting a good result. But we need to win. We absolutely have to win. This is a must-win for Villa for very different reasons, but it's a must-win for Everton because Carlo Ancelotti and those players, not so much Carlo Ancelotti, those players need to prove that when they're under scrutiny because of a lack of work rate and when they're under you know, when they're being criticised for it, they've got the bollocks to step up and show that they want to work hard, show that they want to fight for the team. Because Carlo Ancelotti's very clearly come out today and said, listen, I've told them that's not acceptable. They need to work harder. I'm expecting a much better work rate and much more fight in the team. If they don't show that, then as far as I'm concerned, whoever doesn't show it, fuck off. Get out the club, because it's very clear you don't want to be here. James says, hi Cam, Carlo's press conference was spot on. He knows what the club needs, all down to players now for these futures. Well, exactly, and you know, the Premier League have announced today that the transfer window opens. Is it the day after the final game of the season, is it?
Yeah, pretty sure it is.
And it shuts on October 5th. It runs for 10 weeks. So Marcel Brands and Carlo Ancelotti have got 10 weeks to sit down and really, really decide what we need and go in and bring in the right players to suit the team. We spoke about transfers in yesterday's video. If you haven't seen that, if you could check it out, it'd mean a massive amount to me. Spoken about the recruitment at the football club. Whamey says, sorry about your job, Mike. There you go. Obviously,
cheers, bud.
Spoken about it. Uden says, did you watch the Carlo Ancelotti press conference? I didn't watch it live because I haven't got a private invite to the Zoom call, but I kept up to date on it. Wayne says, can't we play Bernard centre mid? Not in this formation, because I just think this formation demands centre midfielders that provide a lot of defensive cover. And when Bernard plays on the wing, defensively he does okay, but I think in the centre of the park, I just don't think he'd be suited to it, to be honest. If we were playing a formation with a number 10 in, then yes, potentially Bernard could play in that number 10 role, but I just don't think he'd fit in this formation. Dominic says, we have to win tomorrow, we do. When we said, yeah, James, just need a right back, 2 centre-backs, 3 midfielders, a left winger, right winger, maybe a striker, and we're good to go, and a goalkeeper as well. James says Holgate is a big plus, one of the few players we can trust for the shirt. Yes, spot on. Wayne says, think we'll finish 12th behind Southampton and Burnley. How dreadful would that be? But I wouldn't be surprised, mate. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, Burnley, Southampton, 2 teams with players that have got fight, have got urgency, have got want, have got a willingness to play for that club, whereas our players just don't seem to have that at the moment. Where are we then? Where James says we won't get them in one window. For me, it's the midfield. The priority needs hard work in the middle of the park. The rest will come. I agree. We won't do it all in one window. Wayne says you can have all of the effort in the world. If you shit, you shit. We've only got 5 proven players in the squad that ain't shit. Fair enough. Paul says, I think we'll smash Villa 4-0 tomorrow. In terms of score predictions then, what are you going for, mate, ahead of tomorrow's game? Obviously, given the current circumstances and situations, are you confident? Well, I know you're not confident, but if you had to pick a positive scoreline, what would you go for?
Well, the scoreline I went with was 2-1.
To Everton?
To Everton, okay. Yeah. I just think we'll have just I mean, it's going to be like a little bit, but we're just going to have a little bit too much for Villa.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I'd love us to go out and absolutely smash them off the park, and I think that's the type of performance that's needed. Listen, you know, we're not going to forgive the last 3 performances and the players that haven't, you know, put the shirt on and tried their hardest and give it 110%. But if Everton go out tomorrow and absolutely blather Villa and stamp our authority, like I said, and go out and show we are the better team. Yes, you're fighting for relegation, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't ask us. That's nothing to do with us. You're fighting for relegation. You fight for relegation, you know, yourselves. That's got nothing to do for us. We're not going to turn around and curl over because you mightn't be able to stay in the Premier League. We're going to come out and we're going to do the business and we're going to prove it. If this was a Man City, they'd blather them about 5 or 6-0 tomorrow, because they'd just they'd turn up, they'd show their authority, and they'd beat them in a way that a side, however far up in the table they are, would beat a side fighting relegation. And I know we're not dead high up in the table and we haven't had a fantastic season, but we should be beating Aston Villa, let's be perfectly honest. William says Aston Villa will be enthused by our recent performance. They will come thinking they can get a result against us. They will, 100%. Wayne says, thoughts on Dahl? I think he's Matt Letizia, scores worldies but goes missing. A lazy, I'm going to say, player with a wand of a left foot. Obviously, Kieran Dahl scored a hat-trick yesterday for Wigan. Fantastic to see Wigan winning 8-0 yesterday. Kieran Dahl scoring a hat-trick. Still out on loan, of course. For me, I'll go to you in a sec, Mike. For me, again, it was good to see him score at hat-trick. It was nice to see. It was a great 3rd goal. Do I think he's got a future at Everton? No, in honesty, but it was nice to see him score. What do you think?
Yeah, again, he's one of them players that you could put in the Garbett category. Yeah. He showed real potential and promise, and definitely had opportunities during his time, because I think Silva gave him a few games in pre-season last season, and I think he is a creative player. You know, he is someone who would turn on the ball, and he has got a wand of a left foot, but that doesn't make you a Premier League footballer, and there might just be something missing. It was great that he scored a hat-trick. His third goal was a stunner. Like, it was a really good technique, but he's only scored 5 goals in the Championship this season, and we need a midfielder that's going to score us probably 10 goals, in my opinion, and he doesn't do that. Yeah, in the Premier League, so he doesn't do that, in my opinion.
I agree. Good in patches, but no consistency, and just not good enough. But happy for the lad, fair enough for him. Maybe it'll add a little bit to his price tag, and maybe we'll be able to sell him for a little bit of money this summer. Ewan says, what do you think of the drinks break? It's not a drinks break for me. Calling it a drinks break is absolutely ridiculous. It's a tactical break. Half the time, the players don't even get a fucking drink. It's a tactical break. It's an opportunity for managers to gather their sides in halfway through the first half and halfway through the second half, and basically have a mini half-time team talk, tell them what they're doing well, tell them what they need to do better. I think it's benefited Everton a couple of times, to be honest. I think it massively benefited Everton against Leicester. We were under the cosh massively in that first 20 minutes of the second half. They'd equalised, they were coming at us, they were having opportunities left, right and centre. Michael Keane had to clear one off the line. We come in, Carlo Ancelotti has a team talk, and we come out and we just nullify them completely. He brings Yerry Mina on, we look a lot calmer, we just defend it and we see the game out. So I think it's benefited Everton. It's not the same game, is it? Let's be honest, football's not the same game with 5 substitutions and tactical breaks and whatever, but I don't like it and I don't want it to stay, but it's benefited Everton, which again is probably contradicting myself, but I just don't like this whole stop and pause and in the middle of a half. What do you think?
You sounded like that bloke off Little Britain then. I don't like it.
I don't like it because I think if it's the other, well, obviously, listen, since the return of the Premier League and since the drinks break, tactical break, whatever you want to call it, has come in, Everton haven't had a game where we've been absolutely battering a team, and then the drinks breaks happened and it's changed the game. We've only had it the flip way round where we've been getting absolutely bladdered, and then we've come into the drinks break and then we've calmed it down a little bit and it's worked in our favour. This is why I'm sitting here saying, again, football is a massive contradiction, one big contradiction. Football fans opinions on players change every 2 minutes, opinions on managers change every 2 minutes, and opinion on this will change every 2 minutes, because the moment I see Everton turn up and absolutely blather a team for 22 minutes, score only 1 goal, and then the drinks break happens and the team comes out and just puts 10 men behind the ball and calms it down and then nick a point at the end of it, I'll be saying, well, we have lost all the momentum there, so get rid of them. What do you think, mate?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I know they do it like a drinks break, and I don't necessarily understand why the rule come in the first place, because I wasn't savvy to it happening. But I know they've done it in World Cups, for example, where it's been really hot, for example, and it's been in the summer. Now, in the Premier League right now, it's not needed. It's like that quarter thing, you know, when people play basketball and they play like 15 minutes and then have a break. It annoys me. But the 5 substitution things annoys me as well. And the fact that that's there next season just makes me think that football's just becoming a bit of a farce to the Premier League and the FA. So, I don't like it. But it has probably benefited us at times, to be honest.
It's a different sport, innit? And again, I think we're only a matter of months, maybe a couple of years away from these breaks. I think the water break will stay, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I do, because I think that the long-term plan for the Premier League is within the next year or so, during those breaks, there's massive advertisements on, or somebody runs on the pitch with a big board saying, buy these tyres from this shop, or buy this pizza from this shop. Exactly like, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have been to America a couple of times. I've watched a basketball game live, I've watched a baseball game live, and yes, the sport's entertaining, but the events are not really about the sport. They're more about what's advertised, celebrity watch halfway through the game. The baseball is literally, they're on for 2 minutes and then they fuck off for an hour and it's just adverts or people dancing around or cheerleaders. And I think football, unfortunately, will go that way. I do, because I just think that anything to make money, and that will make money. Sonny says, alright lads, how are we all doing? Carlo was spot on in his press conference. Spot on, I agree. Wayne says, team full of them, Wayne. I said to my mate after Walcott's one pass, now watch him disappear, and he did. Spot on. Paul says, I run 2 fairly large Everton groups and the negativity is shocking at the minute, deserved though, but we need to support the team and get behind them. Spot on. I agree, we do. It's tough at the moment, but we do ultimately. 3 games to go in the season. James says we can hit them down the wings, but at the minute they will control the game in a midfield 4-3-3, but players just can't be asked. Carlo said that's the formation he wants to play, 4-4-2. He said that 4-4-2 is the preferred formation and the best formation defensively as well, which I actually agree with him, to be honest with you. What were your thoughts on that? And listen, I think it's important in it when listening to Carlo Ancelotti, and we may get a little bit frustrated at times that the performance is a little bit defensive, or we're playing a little bit defensive, but it's important to understand in it that the players just haven't got the quality to go out and just blather aside, so we're utilising what we've got in our strengths.
Yeah, I just think it's difficult because I want to be positive, but I think at this moment in time we haven't got lots of strengths. Do you get what I mean? So this is, and a lot of people have been critical of Carlo's tactics, his substitutions, but look what he's working with. So how can we say strengths when we've got a midfield with, say, 5 wingers that are crap and 5 centre midfielders, one's injured, shit. We don't have strengths. All we need to do is find a way of getting 3 points.
Spot on.
Doesn't matter how it happens.
Spot on. James says Villa will fancy it tomorrow. No crowd, no midfield. That's where they get a lot of their goals. You're spot on. Wahimi says, it's okay, we're used to waiting on you to get into the comments. It's like Game of Thrones in here. Sorry, mate, sorry. Gord says, we love when Mike comes on the channel. There you go. I think this is John.
I'm joining by the sound of it, because John's tried farming me
I was going
off.
to say that. John said, any chance Michael can join your channel cam? Yeah, of course, mate, yeah. He also says, anyone know where I can buy the new top? Or can I buy it in the Everton shop from tomorrow? I think you can, mate. Everton 1 is opening tomorrow for the first time, and the shop in Liverpool 1's been open for a couple of... whenever the shops originally opened, a couple of weeks ago or whatever it was. Who's that one dislike? I don't know, probably a Liverpool fan, but there you go. James says, I put the young lad at the back and Holgate in the midfield. Again, potentially something that I definitely thought about doing, to be perfectly honest with you. I did think about putting Branthwaite in there and pushing Mason up. Again, wouldn't be opposed to that. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, I like Holgate in midfield. I think he's the best centre midfielder we've got.
Yeah, which says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, shit.
It says an awful lot. Where are we then? Well, let's get back into the game briefly, and then we'll dive into the live comment before we finish. If you're enjoying, please do hit the like button, by the way. Subscribe if you're new. Share the stream. Let's get as many people in here as possible. So, yeah, listen. Tough game tomorrow. Tough game. It shouldn't be a tough game. We shouldn't be sitting here saying it's a tough game. We should be sitting here saying these are in a relegation battle. They've not had a great season. They don't score many goals. They struggle defensively. We should be able to go out and blow them away. But we know in typical Everton fashion that won't be the case. It's going to be difficult. They're going to come. They're going to show fight. They're going to show energy. They're going to show passion. And we have to match that. It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. We have to match their energy. We have to match their passion. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough day at the office for Everton. And we might have more quality than them, and that quality will hopefully shine through. But if we won 2-1, don't get me wrong, if we win, I'll be fucking made up however we win, even if it comes off someone's arse in the last minute. But if we won 2-1, but you're sitting here thinking we've won because we've got the better quality, but we didn't really give it 110% there. You could see the players were still lackadaisical, he was still flip-flops on the holidays, etc. I won't be as happy as I'd be if we go out there, give it 110% and just blow them away if we've got the quality to do it, or at least show our authority and stamp our foot and say we're going to give it 110% here, so you're going to have to give it 110% to stay in this game, and then our quality will shine through hopefully. But it's not going to be as easy a game as we would hope or as paper would say, but I'm still hoping for an Everton win. Listen, we play 3 games, we play Sheffield United, we play Villa, Sheffield United, and then Bournemouth, and realistically you look at those 3 games and you think we should be taking at least 7 points out of them. Possibly 6 is probably acceptable, but my more reasonable number is 7. And on our day maybe even 9, but definitely 6 or 7 at least. And then you look at our recent form and you think we may take 1 point. I could see us taking only 1 point out of those games, but this is where we need to step up, and this is where the players need to prove themselves. Not only if they want to play for Everton, but if Gylfi Sigurdsson goes out there and doesn't show like he gives a fuck, and Tom Davies does it tomorrow against Villa, and we get absolutely twatted, who's going to come in for them? Who's going to want to buy them in the summer? Who's going to want to bring them into their club? No one. If they can't do it against the side that are pretty much dead and buried, who've got a little bit of fight left in them, then who are they going to be able to do it against? And anyway, yeah, thoughts? Last thoughts on the game?
That's our issue. Look, tomorrow's difficult. Tomorrow's a difficult game. We've got to accept that. As you are, we could walk out of the next 3 games with no points. Sheffield United are flying, look like they're potentially going to get into Europe. Bournemouth got a massive result the weekend, a result I didn't see coming against Leicester. Could have beat them 6-1. So Bournemouth have clearly found the feet. And obviously Villa after a 2-0 win. One thing I will say, just a few things just to throw in there. Villa have gone 24 games without an away clean sheet. So you like to think we're going to get a goal.
How many? How long?
24 games without an away clean
I don't
sheet.
know why my brain thought you said years then. I was going to say, fucking
No,
hell.
no,
24
no.
games, so most of the season.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and on top of that, they haven't won back-to-back games since October. So it's a game that Everton on paper should be winning. The other issue you've got is Everton aren't in great form. So, for example, Carlo Ancelotti after 8 games, he had 17 points, and it's taken... In his other 8 games, we've only got 9. So we're not on a great run of form either. One thing also I would say is that Everton are on the second longest unbeaten run at home with 10 games and Liverpool are top. So Everton go into this game down on confidence, probably had a rocket up their arse because we all know it's obvious. Carlo come out and said. And I just think Everton win this game tomorrow simply because those players will know how much of a joke they've been, and they've probably not heard that from a Marco Silva before, or anyone else really.
Yeah, spot on. And when Carlo Ancelotti's sitting them down saying it's disgusting, it's dreadful, it's not good enough, they need to sit up and listen. None of this, well, who are you? What have you won? It should be fucking hell. If he's saying that, we must have been bad. So,
which was one of the points we made earlier in the season. I think it was the first live stream I'd come on, and I think I said to you, if Everton want to be where we want to be, we need to go and get a man that the players can't go. Well, you've not been there yourself. Every single player in that shirt has to respect Carlo Ancelotti, and if they don't respect him, they can fuck off.
Spot on.
Simple as that.
Spot on. I agree. And we'll leave it there then. Fantastic way to leave it. Big thanks for watching. Massive game for both sides tomorrow, but I'm not really asked about Villa's relegation battle. Massive fight for Everton. As the title says, and Carlo Ancelotti says, when there is no fight, that is not part of the DNA of Everton Football Club. And he said he was confused, he was surprised, he was disgusted by the lack of fight in the last game, and he said that these players need to change it, and that he is confident that they will change it, so he must have had a talking to them, and I'm glad because that's exactly what they needed. If you've enjoyed this team, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. Massive thanks to Mike for coming on as per usual. You can find Mike's link to the Blue Boys Network, Mike and John's channel, in the description down below. Check them out, subscribe, I'm sure you know them, of course. Go and get the merch as well. Mike's doing a watch along to the game tomorrow. What time is it starting?
20 to 6. If you've seen the promo video, it's on Twitter. It's the best promo video you'll ever watch.
There you go. It is good, to be fair. It is very, very good. 20 to 6. Go and join Mike. I won't be doing a watch along, but we'll have all of the post game content, of course. I want to say a massive thanks to Mike and Paul for the donations on the stream as well. Really, really do appreciate it. It means a massive, massive amount to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Flying towards 2,000 now, only 20 away. Massive game for Everton tomorrow, but let's go out there, stamp our authority, and get a 3 points. Anything to say before we leave?
No, thanks for having me, and obviously we'll see you on my channel this week as well.
There you go, definitely.
There you go.
Spot on. Big thanks for watching. Wormy says take care, guys. Thank you very much. Jedi says cheers, lads. And Wormy also says going to be ugly tomorrow. Let's hope not. Big thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see you tomorrow for all of the post game content, instant match reaction, play ratings, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.